Welcome into the Paul Farrington Show, a Tuesday reaction to NFL Week 7. I know we haven't done this Tuesdays or Monday show in a while where we react to the league. That's not an instant reaction, but I just felt like doing it, and the news just came out on JJ McCarthy, which we'll get to in a moment here. But yeah, it's hard on Sundays sometimes to really digest everything that happened and how hurt our guys. Can want to go back and rewatch some of the games to get a better beat of what's actually taking place. Because on Sunday, watching games from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m., it's just a lot of football. I mean, I love football as much as the next guy, but 14 hours of football, it's a lot. And you need to be able to take a beat sometimes and process everything that's happening, formulate your opinions a little bit more, and then get out and we talk on the show. Because on Sunday, it's as soon as the game ends, right? We load up the Zoom with Ziggy. We talk for a couple minutes about what we might want to hit on, and then it's go time. And it's all instantaneous, which is a lot of fun. And it's great in the comment section, seeing people with their emotions right after a game. That's when everyone, obviously, I know that's when I am the most energetic or sad, usually sad. But it's nice to take a moment, process it all, and then we could do shows like this on Monday or Tuesday. Maybe we'll start doing some more of them as the season continues here. We'll have the Andy Herman show come out on Wednesday, breaking down the NFC North. And on Thursday, of course, we'll do our Week 8 prediction show. We'll also be live on Thursday night for Vikings-Chargers, which, yes, Carson Wentz will be starting now. Before we get into this, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. We're almost at 25,000 subscribers, guys. Very close. That's not a number that we were really thinking about when we first started this show, but it'll be really cool when we get to that, quarter mark of 100K. And really appreciate everybody who tunes in and engages with the channel. We get some really nice messages from people just saying how much the show means to them, whether, they're working through something or quite literally at work. It's just nice for them to sit back and listen to us, to have fun and talk like we're at the middle school lunch table, right? That's where me, Jack, and Zach all became friends doing this. So Ziggy has now come in. I wonder what that would have looked like, Ziggy at the middle school lunch table. I genuinely have no idea, because Ziggy changed as much as anyone I've really ever met from the time I met him to now. I cannot imagine middle school Ziggy, Paul, Zach, and Jack having these conversations, but we're glad that for a lot of people, it seems we can kind of, bring back a blast to the past of when you're just hanging out with your friends talking ball. And that's what we're going to keep doing. So if you're enjoying the show, please shoot us over a subscription, because it helps us out, and hopefully we can continue to put more out. So I want to run through some of the NFC North games today. Obviously, I want to hit on the Monday Night Football, maybe some winners and losers from Week 7. But the news just broke that, once again, Carson Wentz will be starting for the Vikings on Thursday night in Los Angeles, where the Vikings, I think it only has been one time, but it feels like we go to LA all the time on Thursday night and lose. It probably is just that one other time where we just got scorched. I remember Eric Kendricks guarding running backs, just not good. Just a really bad memory of Thursday night football, which is hard enough, right? When you're going on the road, a short week. But once again, we have our backup quarterback playing. And this whole JJ situation, it's just weird. I'm so sick of it, guys. When I don't want to get on too long, because I've obviously made my point clear and have come down on how I feel about it. But when the injury first happened, first off, we didn't even know JJ was hurt against Atlanta. And then Nick talked about this on his show today. I actually didn't even realize these tweets. Schefter comes out after that game the next day, right? Ziggy and I did the reaction, and he says, JJ's expected to be sidelined 2 to 4 weeks with a high ankle sprain. It's like, damn, are you kidding me? Like, really? Seriously? He needs reps. He needs reps. Out for 2 weeks, of course, this happens. But the thought process was, okay, next week we play Cincinnati. Burrow's out. We should win that game, and we crush them with Carson. Then they go to Europe, and it just makes sense. Even if we want him back for the Browns game, it just makes sense to say, JJ misses Pittsburgh, misses Cleveland. We come back, have a bye, bring him back for Philadelphia. Obviously, having Philly come in might not be the game you want him, but the Eagles look a lot different now, or we feel a lot different about the Eagles now than we did at the start of the year. Still a very good team, but maybe not the world beaters that we expected. They're having the locker room problems. But the thought is we'll bring JJ back for the Eagles game. The bye happens, and before the game, Schefter puts out, when Vikings QB JJ McCarthy suffered a week 2 high ankle sprain, doctors expected it to be a 6-week injury. Nothing has changed. It still looks like a 6-week injury, which means McCarthy would miss next week and possibly be able to return in week 9 at Detroit. Well, a couple things here. It's not, something has changed because you said 2 to 4. Now we move it up to 6. And even if he, let's say, right, he's going to miss the Charger game. Now you're saying possibly return for Detroit. That would make it 7 weeks now. So what is actually going on here? How hurt is he really? Is it a little bit of a benching? I really don't know. And I don't want to speculate because if JJ's really hurt, which I think he is, I'd be really surprised if the Vikings weren't playing McCarthy unless he were truly hurt. If he's really hurt, you can't play him. You can't do that, right? I can come on here and say how frustrated I am that JJ's out over and over again. You can't play a guy who's so hurt that he can't play. And you don't want him to even be 90% because if he re-aggravates this thing, who knows? He might be out for the season. We just don't know. He hasn't been on the field. But if he's able to go, it makes no sense to not play him because Carson Wentz, he's been fine, right? Like I guess it depends how you want to interpret fine. We're moving the ball up and down the field, right? In the 2 losses we have against the Steelers and Eagles, Carson has almost 700 yards passing, but it's just the back-breaking mistakes. It costs us games. I mean, it happens multiple times every game. So he's been sacked 8 times in those 2 losses, 4 interceptions. The one against Philly was returned for a touchdown. 2 really, really critical intentional groundings. One ended the Steeler game. One in the red zone this week against Philly. That's just been the Carson Wentz era with Minnesota. We're competitive in these games. The Vikings haven't been blown out this year with him under center. But we're killing ourselves. It's way too many problems that we need to be able to avoid. Can't take big sacks on 3rd down, moving us out field goal range, or you can't just huck it up when you're pressured to have it picked off. Like this has just been the story of Wentz with the Vikings. They've been okay, but they beat themselves more than the other team beats them. So it just can't be that O'Connell, unless if JJ they think he's that bad, in which case we have a whole other set of problems here. If you think he's that bad that we're going to keep going with Wentz, I don't even want to get into that. And it's tough because you're watching Sam Darnold and Aaron Rodgers and Daniel Jones. I'm not going to even talk about it anymore because we know those guys are all playing really well this year. Obviously, the Vikings made a massive mistake. They made a massive, massive mistake not bringing in one of them. Or keeping one of them, right? Because 2 of them were on the roster. In hindsight, though, it's 2020. Because I'm thinking back to the moment we made those decisions. I would have brought in Rodgers. I thought Aaron Rodgers, with the Vikings roster around him, they could elevate Aaron and have him playing his best football, which would then elevate the team, right? Rising tides lifts all boats. That's sort of what I was expecting could happen. And I really think it would have. Like Aaron's looked good in Pittsburgh. I think you could get a magical season out of him if he was in Minnesota. Jefferson would be, I've said this before, if Jefferson had a competent quarterback, I could see him go for 2,500. Like if he has a superstar quarterback, Justin Jefferson would have like 2,200 yards. He's unbelievable. But they decided not to bring in Aaron. Daniel Jones, it sort of makes sense, right? Like no one really saw this coming. Maybe you could have pulled what you did with Darnold last year with DJ, have him stick around, start the year, play JJ when he's ready. But we didn't want that, right? We drafted JJ McCarthy, number 10 overall. And then it comes down to the Sam Darnold situation. And here's where I just have a lot of trouble putting too much blame on O'Connell and Kwesi. It's tough because JJ hasn't played. So they couldn't have known that this was going to happen. Obviously, if they knew that, they would bring Sam back. Was it just blind faith in McCarthy? I'm not in the building. I can say it as a podcast host. I can say, yeah, I want to see what we have in JJ. Like, we need to. Our best path to success is having him on the rookie contract and having him be somewhat similar to Darnold, or maybe not even similar to Darnold. Just be competent and be able to move the ball up and down the field because the rest of the team is good enough to win now. Be a game manager. That's all we're asking. And my guess is that KOC thought that JJ would be good enough to do that. The problem is he's just never on the field. Even when he's recovering from injury, right? He's not on the practice field. We don't know what we see. So the blame has to go on them for making the wrong decision. And you can't put them through hellfire because they took a gamble and it didn't work. We took a gamble the same way we didn't bring Kirk back. He was coming off the best year of his career before he tears his Achilles. It worked out because Sam was great. But I have a little bit of an issue, like, really digging in on these guys for having a leap of faith. But it's one that obviously now we can look back on and say it was a really bad decision. And, people do need to be held accountable for that. I'm not saying fire O'Connell or Kwesi, okay? That came off maybe a little too strong there. But it just sucks because this team is ready to go. And it's hard to imagine them not being really, really good with Darnold right now. It's just a crappy situation. I'm so tired of it. Like our quarterback situation, we had the answers. We had the answers. We had 3 of them, and we just picked the wrong door. And I was behind it at the time too. So it just sucks. It just really, really sucks, given where the rest of the team is. And now we'll go in on Thursday night. If we win, we get to 4-3, still competitive. I mean, this team can still go. But JJ will come back, and if he comes back, you're going to Detroit. And I know half their secondary's out, but we saw what they did to Tampa last night. The only path really for the Vikings, though, to be a contender either this year, which they're not going to be, or for the near future, is JJ getting good. So he has to play when he's healthy. He has to play when he's healthy. It just sucks that we're in this situation here. Obviously, we lost to Philly this weekend as well, 28-22. Just very quickly on Philadelphia. I view them a lot differently if Saquon's going to keep playing like this. 18 carries for 44 yards. I haven't went back and watched the film on every Eagles game. I've seen some people come out and say that the Eagles line has had some big issues on plays. I think back to the play where Jalen Redmond just burst through the line and tackled Saquon for a 5-yard loss. But if Saquon's not going to be anything close to what he was last year, where it seemed like he was breaking off 50-yard runs every single week, it has to change the way you think about them, because it puts a lot more pressure on Jalen Hurts to perform at a high level. Their defense is not as good as it was last year either. They obviously have Devontae Smith and AJ Brown, about as good as it gets. And you saw, I mean, we saw firsthand. Devontae goes for 183, AJ 121, 3 touchdowns combined. Those guys are good enough to carry an offense. And if you believe in Jalen Hurts, the Eagles should be a top tier contender still, because they're loaded. They really are loaded with offensive skill players. But the same way that I said last night about the Lions, Jahmyr Gibbs is what separates them to me. That explosiveness of, I can take this to the house on any given play, in addition to Amon-Ra and Goff playing like a top 10 QB, Laporta, Jameson Williams, who hasn't got going, that offensive line, it's Jahmyr Gibbs that pushes that team over the top and gives them another gear that most teams in the league don't have. How many guys in the league are as fun to watch or as explosive as Jahmyr Gibbs on any given play? There's only a handful. And Saquon is that guy for Philly, but he's not doing it this season. And I'm not sure what's going on. Saquon obviously doesn't care as long as they're winning, but the reason he should care is because they will not win the Super Bowl. They will not repeat if he can't find that level again. Like that just, it won't happen. They will not win. I don't trust Jalen Hurts for 4 straight games of really good football. And he was great in the second half against the Vikings. The first half, I know the announcers were giving him a lot of flowers. First half, was not good. They had 3 and outs, 1 4-play drive before halftime, and the only thing that you could really be positive about was a fantastic 12-play, 75-yard touchdown drive to open the game. He was not that good the rest of the first half. Second half, that was as good as you've ever seen Jalen Hurts. I mean, 3rd and long, time and time again, extending the play, finding Brown and Smith. Obviously the tush push, he can convert those like no one in the league can. Kind of getting tired of that play, but we're not good. We won't talk about that today. Jalen was just awesome, and he won the game for Philly along with the 2 receivers. If you think he can be that, then yeah, you could get by without Saquon being great. But I don't know how many people can seriously say, I think Jalen Hurts for 4 straight games can be elite. He can clearly do it for 1 or 2 at a time. We've seen in the Super Bowl, I saw it last week. But even during that playoff run, Hurts was not carrying them to the win against Washington. Hurts wasn't carrying them against Green Bay or against the Rams. He was good enough to win, but there's a difference if Saquon's not at that level. The Packer game here, okay? So Green Bay is leading the NFC right now, as we said off the top of the show at 4-1-1. I put out a tweet late last night that just said, and somehow the Green Bay Packers are leading the NFC. And it sort of went viral. I think it's like over 100,000 views, I think, right now. And a lot of people are commenting going like, well, Paul, it's the winning percentage, obviously. I'm like, no, I know. I know how the ranking goes. I get that they're the 1 seed because they have the highest winning percentage. That wasn't the point. The point was, and somehow, despite the way they've played now for 4 straight weeks, the Packers are atop the NFC, which is kind of crazy because the Packers haven't played good football in a month. Or they played okay football, but the first 2 weeks, they looked like the best team in the league by far. They looked like a clear-cut Super Bowl team. And maybe one of those teams that has special seasons. And for 4 straight weeks now, there's been a lot of inconsistency. There's been a lack of turnovers generated by the defense. There's been inopportune times for the offense to stall out, some big turnovers. A lot of questionable decisions have been made too. And the fan base has made us very aware of their discontent with that. But somehow Green Bay sits atop at 4-1-1. And I think you could take a lot of solace in the fact that you are the 1 seed without looking as good as you think you can be. And we all think that when Jaden Reed gets back and Christian Watson will be back this week, that this team can go to another level again, offensively. Like I've brought up several times with the Chiefs, you lose your top 2 weapons, that means something. Like that's going to impact anyone. And the Packers run 5 deep at receiver, but I still think Watson and Reed are probably the 2 best that they have. That's, everyone can debate it, but you get those guys back, get Josh Jacobs healthy again, the O-line healthier. Packers should improve, actually. So you're 4-1-1, and you should only get better here. To this game specifically with the Cardinals now, I really like the call from LaFleur on 4th and 2, game on the line. You decide to go for it. You're on, I think, the 29-yard line. You're on Arizona's 29-yard line. You're down 23-20. Packers fans have been begging for him to be more aggressive. Well, he delivered. And I bet a lot of Packers fans didn't agree with that call. But just from thinking about it, the way Jacoby Brissett looked in that game, and we'll get to this in a second about the Packers defense, Brissett threw for 279 yards at 2 touchdowns and a 110.8 passer rating. I mean, he was really good. And you weren't slowing them down really all game. And you saw how quickly they moved down the field. If you kick a field goal there, I think Jacoby Brissett's taking the Cardinals for a game-winning field goal. And you're walking out of there at 3-2-1, feeling a whole lot different. If you're 3-2-1, where's that even in the standings here? I mean, Green Bay would be not even in, right? They'd be the 8 seed. Chicago would jump them. Maybe. No, Chicago, they'd still be behind. Maybe they'd be the 7 seed. But you're feeling a whole lot different. And I thought I just loved the play from LaFleur. He was aggressive earlier in the game too, going for it on 4th down, and it should have worked. Love missed Romeo Doubs, who had a step which on a play which should have been a touchdown. these are the kind of plays, the way that game ended for Green Bay with the big 4th and 1 QB sneak stop, which Edgerrin Cooper got in on, then coming down, having that ballsy call from LaFleur, and getting the big stand at the very end of the game when Arizona drove down. Those are the kind of plays that can really reignite a team. And we've been saying this Packer team needs a spark. Well, you end a game like that where your coach puts it all on the line and you deliver. Now you have Rodgers coming. Now you're playing Rodgers. Like, everything's there for the Packers to get that juice back that they need. Your kicker, Lucas Havrisik, hits a 61-yard field goal. I mean, this was just it was a great game for Green Bay in terms of big-time players making big-time plays, right? Love delivers on 4th and 2 to Kraft, who was just awesome. Josh Jacobs battles through an injury most of the game, has the touchdown to take the lead. Micah Parsons, time and time again, it seemed like, delivered when it mattered most. He had 3 sacks in this one, all of them coming in pretty crucial situations here. I really think that can be a rallying force here for Green Bay as we go forward the rest of this year here. You finally got a turnover, right? Rashawn Gary down 13-6 in the early third quarter, strips it from Brissett. You guys go and score. That's what you do against bad teams. You get turnovers, turn it into points, and you bury their will. Packers started to sort of recapture a little bit of, it's still a close game that they easily could have lost. But the Packers, I think, had more positive takeaways in this one than in a lot of their other wins that they've had this season. Negatively, though, there's still a lot that needs to be fixed. And I'm sure that Packers fans saw this, but you can't give up the 3rd and 23, 3rd and 14. Both of those were on Arizona's 2 touchdown drives. Micah jumps offside on 3rd and 23, and they connect with Zay Jones for like a 50-yard gain. Like, that can't happen. The touchdown before halftime for Arizona, Trey McBride. This is the second time now, right, that Green Bay's given up a touchdown with like 7 seconds left in the half. They did it against Dallas with Pickens, and this time now, the Cardinals have the ball on the 15-yard line with no timeouts. There's 12 seconds left. Trey McBride runs a corner route, and the right corner of the field, no one's there for Green Bay. Like, no one's at the goal line. And McBride walks in, it's 13-3. Look, Havrisik hits that huge field goal. If he doesn't hit that, it's a 10-point game at halftime. I don't know where this game goes here. You can't give up that touchdown. You need to have guys along the goal line, because anything it kept in front of you is fine. You tackle them at the 5, tackle them at the 1. It's 3rd and 4. Who cares if they get the first down? Clock's running. If you tackle them in bounds, they're probably going to spike it with a second or 2 left, but there's a chance even the clock runs out. You just can't let them waltz into the end zone. I don't know what Hafley's thinking in these situations, but this is what I mean with the Packers is there's just a couple plays here or there in all of these games that's happening and preventing blowout Packer wins. Like, there's too many of these plays where you just go like, what are they thinking here? And like, they're better than Arizona. They're better than the Bengals. They're better than the Cowboys, but they're having a handful of plays a game. I mean, I guess it's like the Vikings, right? Where they just need to clean it up. And if they do, that's when you see the team that you saw against Detroit and the team you saw against Washington. But that was just another one of those that could have been really costly. And it ultimately didn't wind up having, I mean, obviously they won the game, so they were okay there. And then the last thing I just want to talk about with Green Bay, I know they won, so I don't want to get too negative on anything. But if I were to be concerned, it's the same concern I had before the year with the secondary. And Nate Hobbs has been really bad. I don't root against anyone. I root against the Packers, but I don't root against individual people. When he came in, there was a lot of hope that he could help elevate the secondary with Jair leaving. When going after Hobbs, Brissett had a 118.8 passer rating. He gave up 4 completions on 5 targets for 86 yards. That was the second most in the league of any boundary cornerback in Week 7. And I mean, time and time again, guys, we're talking about these, 3rd and 23s, 3rd and 14s. Think about what happened in the second half of the Bengal game. The Packers secondary has been getting carved up. I mean, Dak did in the second half against them without CeeDee Lamb in that game. If there's one spot to be concerned, it's Okay, Keyshawn Nixon's kind of come back down to earth. Hobbs is playing really bad. Valentine, Valentine only played 2 snaps. A lot of people want him in the game. When he was coming in, I think I was against Dallas or was it against Cincinnati. I can't remember. He hasn't even been great when he's been on the field. And this was the big concern I had was I said the reason why I would have brought Jair back, and Jair's hurt, so he probably would have got hurt anyway. But the fear was Jair was going to be the number 1 guy. And Jair, had he been able to recapture some of his, doesn't have to be 100% because, all pro Jair, obviously bring him back. But if he can just play like a number 1 corner, everyone kind of slots in more naturally to their positions. Now you're asking Nixon to be number 1, and you're asking Hobbs to be number 2. Like it puts a little more pressure on everyone who might not be good enough, not even ready, just good enough for those roles. And obviously we McKinney and Evan Williams you like, but they haven't played as well as they did last year. So that's just one area that I'm watching with Green Bay saying, okay, if the pass rush isn't delivering, this secondary might just get destroyed. Or if a quarterback's hot like Dak was, they might, because you have to expect, Mike and that pass rush. They got 27 pressures, was it? Or 6 sacks in this game, right? Was it 27 pressures? Jeez. You expect them to deliver, but if they don't, like who knows what Jared Goff could do to them down the road, or who knows what Baker, if the Bucs can get some weapons back. I guess that's the one. So no, Stafford. I mean, yeah. So with Stafford, Puka, and Devontae Adams, or Darnold. It's just that group needs to improve. Okay, here. I want to talk Monday Night Football real quick because the Seahawks, as it stands right now, are the 6th seed at 5-2. Yeah, again, it's unbelievable that we have these 5-2 teams. All 3 of the wild cards in the NFC are 5-2. But Seattle, I'll talk about them for Jack's sake, because Jack's a big Seahawk guy, as we know. Trying to figure out what we make of them. They had the win last night over the Texans, who I'm sorry with Houston. I know we have Houston listeners. It's really ugly there. That game was just abysmal last night. You had 4 turnovers. You had a defensive touchdown. You won the turnover battle 4-1. I mean, they were just horrible. And Stroud, once again, was just really bad. He's 23 for 49, 229 yards, a touchdown and a pick. They couldn't run at all. I mean, how many times was there 3rd and 1, 4th and 1? And they just every time tried running up the middle, and Seattle stuffed it every single time. It was, if you were a Texan fan, and my dad had the Texans in a parlay, he was just like, this is brutal to watch. It's really disappointing for Texans fans because that defense is good. And I do think D'Amico Ryans has done a great job defensively, but the offense is just, I don't know what happened to Stroud. A couple of years ago, we're talking about this guy being the 5th best quarterback in football, and he looks completely lost out there. We can blame, the old line's not good, yes, but Stroud has also regressed a lot as well. Nico Collins was nowhere to be seen. Then he got hurt, and obviously we hope Nico gets healthy, but that team just looks horrible most weeks. They beat up on Cooper Rush and the Ravens, but it's just they're tough. They're a tough watch, the Texans, and I hope they can turn around because this is a team that's been to the divisional round 2 years in a row. But they're not even on my radar of a team that can be like worth talking about anymore. Seattle, though, certainly is worth talking about because they're a really good football team. The defense is unbelievable. Mike McDonald, I've said time and time again, if he was an offensive coach, we're talking about him a lot more than we are. We're talking about him the same way we're talking about all the other, young up and coming coaches in the league. He's done a great job with them. Kenneth Walker he's a monster. It's just a matter of can he stay healthy or not. And then obviously the thing that's getting everyone's attention right now are Darnold and JSN. JSN, 123 yards on 8 catches with another touchdown. Is he leading the league right now? Let me see. Season leaders. Let's go to receiving yards. Yeah, it's not even close. JSN is 819 receiving yards. Second place is Jamar with 629. Oh my gosh. Wow. And Puka, who has only played in 6 games, is 616. I mean, I guess he's close, but had he played a 7th game. But yeah, JSN, man, what a regret I have in my fantasy league taking Jaden Daniels over JSN. He's been fantastic. And Darnold, this is what it comes down to with Seattle. If Darnold doesn't make the huge mistake, they're a team that can seriously compete to win the NFC. They're that good. They have talent all over the field. But you watch these games, and every single week, it feels like Darnold has, and he did it with the Vikings a lot too. Handful of plays, ball's batted at the line of scrimmage, goes up in the air. Are they going to pick it off or not? Clearly against the Texans, he had the strip sack in the end zone that kept Houston in the game. There's no reason this game shouldn't have been like a 30-point Seattle win. But Sam, he has an interception as well. He has the fumble. Think about the Bucs game, right? They're going to win the game. Ball's tipped, picked off. Tampa wins that one. He's responded really well week in and week out. Like even after the strip sack, came in and had just a picture perfect throw to JSN down the sideline. But that's what it's going to come down to. Kenneth Walker stay healthy? And I like Charbonnet's good too. And will Sam Darnold make the massive mistake? If he doesn't, you got to watch out for them. And that's going to be a great race in the NFC West, where right now, San Francisco at 5-2. I don't know how they're doing it with all the injuries. Shanahan's got to be, him and Steichen are the coach of the year guys. I don't even think that's close right now. I guess you could put Vrabel in there too. But somehow San Francisco's 5-2. And the Rams, I'm between the Rams and Lions, I think, is my number one team in the NFC right now. It's Stafford the past few weeks. Listen to these stats, guys, for Stafford. He's had, on the year, he has 17 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Against Jacksonville, 5 touchdowns, no picks, 117.7 QB rating, or passer rating. He's just been great. 3 of the last 4 games, he's had 3 or more touchdowns and no interceptions. They should have beat the 49ers too. It was utterly unbelievable that they lost that game. This Rams team is really, really good. And Puka Nacua coming back, we'll just let him get healthy, and their offense has been unbelievable. Stafford might be the MVP. Stafford, Dak. Baker obviously dropped off a little bit last night, but he's been great. It's kind of funny. Most of the MVP candidates are all coming out of the NFC right now. And obviously the favorite's Mahomes right now. So let's talk about the Bears a little bit here. The Bears are 4-2. They've won 4 in a row. It still doesn't, I'm still not putting them in any real threatening category as far as contenders. I'm trying to think through my contender list in the NFC. S tier, I probably put the Lions, the Packers, the Rams. Do you put Philly there? I might put Philly at the top towards the top of A right now. You still have to respect them as Super Bowl champions, but I put Philly in A. I'm putting Tampa Bay in A. I'll put Seattle in A right now. And then I'm probably putting San Francisco in B, and that's where I'd find the Bears. Maybe even drop down to C. I'm not scared of the Bears yet, but 4 wins in a row is really impressive, and they're doing it without Caleb playing great, which I think is both concerning, and also there should be some optimism in that. Remember, Caleb ended last year, I can't remember how many games, with 10 touchdowns, no interceptions. He started playing a lot better. Sometimes it takes a little time, right? With Ben Johnson, you have a new head coach here, Caleb, in year 2 right now, so still really young quarterback. He wasn't great against the Saints this weekend. I actually don't even. He's not the reason they won that football game, but he's not the reason. He didn't make them lose, right? We talk about Carson Wentz had so many mistakes that they lost. Caleb ended 15 for 26, 172 yards and a pick. He was not great. DeAndre Swift was great. 19 carries, 124 yards, a touchdown. The defense was great. consistently pressuring Rattler, consistently forcing turnovers. That's what I've been talking about with the Packers. Make bad teams do bad things and dumb things. And the Bears did that against the Saints. That's why they won. They scored a lot of points off a lot of turnovers. And it was still kind of close, right? Because at the end of the first half, all of a sudden, Chris Olave goes 75 yards by himself in 2 plays, scores a touchdown. They come out of the half, score a touchdown again. It's 20-14 in the blink of an eye when it was just 20-0. And you got to give the Bears credit, right? They forced enough turnovers. They got down the field and were able to extend the lead 23-14 immediately. But it's still a couple inefficiencies there. A lot of like the Vikings again. They were 2 for 6 in the red zone. You convert in those situations. This game's not close. But the Bears, even against Washington, right? There's so many plays we talked about in the instant reaction where, if they convert, and a lot of it against Washington, I thought was the refs' fault. I thought the refs were really bad in that game. But there's still a lot of plays in Bears games where if they clean it up, and maybe this is just a theme across the NFC North teams other than the Lions, if you clean it up, these games are going to look a whole lot different. And I'm excited to see what Chicago does over the next few weeks because, again, they don't look extremely clean right now, but they're winning. And in the past, they were not winning these games. In the past, they'd find a way to lose. And you're sitting at 2-4 and going, all right, you see a lot more of the problems than the things that look good. And today, on Sunday, you could point to, hey, defense is improving. Got Colson Loveland involved. DeAndre Swift's playing some of the best football of his career. When you win, the good things are highlighted and are built upon. When you lose, you highlight the negatives and it kind of just festers and grows and comes down on you. So they get Baltimore this weekend and Lamar is probably coming back. Let me just see if there's any official word. He's not practicing right now. Still out. Yeah. We'll see if he plays. If he does not play, the Bears have the Ravens, Bengals, and Giants in their next 3. That could easily be 7-2. And 7-2 should have people's attention. It's, again, not a lot of great teams that they're beating there, but they're winning. And in the NFL, when you win and you can build that momentum up, I do think you start to play a lot better too. There are fraudulent teams, and fraudulent teams, of course, exist. But when you have a team like Chicago, their whole goal this year was just to really try and have Caleb ready to go by the end of the year, have him looking good. If you're 7-2, and then that dream comes to fruition, well, I mean, now they're going to threaten the NFC North if that's the case. So I think there's a lot of optimism in Chicago. And still a lot to build on, but this is all good as long as you're winning. It's the Packers at 4-1-1, right? There are things that we can improve on so that when we're finally clicking, well, we already have the foundation of success here. We already have the record that we can now take it to the next level when we get to the playoffs. I think it's really, really exciting times in Chicago. It's just a matter of Caleb getting to that next gear, which close, not there yet, but close. Okay, real quick, we'll end up this show here. A couple winners and losers. Man, I mean, the Giants are a massive loser. 26-8 with 5.5 minutes left. I wasn't even watching the game. I was watching the end of the Packer game. Next thing you know, eye darts down to the corner. Okay, 26-16. I look back, 26-23. Look back, Denver has the ball, and I'm like, all right, I actually have to pay attention to this now. And it was just the Giants completely fell apart. The defense couldn't get a stop, and the offense, the key play was the Jackson Dart interception. But it's not like they fumbled the kickoff and it was returned for a touchdown. They just it all stopped working. They couldn't stop Denver, and they couldn't get a first down when one first down probably wins that game. Up until they were losing, and Dart goes on this unbelievable drive. They converted a 4th and 19. They get in the end zone with 35 seconds left, no timeouts for Denver, and you're like, that's the Jackson Dart moment there. And Denver marches right back down the field. You saw Brian Burns just clearly looked upset with some of the play calling at the end of that for the Giants. And man, that one's going to hurt a little bit because the Giants have a really tough schedule. I don't think they're going to be a threat. But at 3-4, you would have had a little bit more a little bit more juice behind the Giants heading into week 8 than right now. Obviously, it looks horrible. And something cool I saw was, so the Broncos were honoring Demaryius Thomas in that game, and he passed away, we know, at age 33, and Denver scored 33 points in the fourth quarter. Just one of those weird, like, I don't know, right? Like, was there something more at play there? Maybe. That's, when do you ever see 33 points scored in the fourth quarter? That was just a bizarre coincidence. But I'm happy for Denver in that situation. I don't root for the Broncos, but Demaryius Thomas seemed like a great guy, and it's a thrilling win. I have no real belief in Denver. The Broncos have scored 13 points in the first 3 quarters of their last 3 games combined, and have just turned it on the fourth. They were down 17-3 to Philly entering the fourth. They were down 11-10 against the Jets entering the fourth, and they were down 19-0 to the Giants entering the fourth. And, they didn't turn it on against the Jets, but they keep walking away with these wins. Denver is 5-2. They can easily be 2-5. I don't trust them. I don't think they're that good, but they are 5-2, and the record has to get some attention, and they're playing really well at the end of games here, finding ways to win. But they're not a serious contender to me at all. One thing about the Chiefs, okay, Chiefs went 31-0 over the Raiders. I'm just going to say this. This is exactly the point that I've been making this whole year, that when Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy got back, this Chiefs offense was going to look a whole lot different, which would make this Chiefs team feel a whole lot different. And it's clear as day, guys. When you have Xavier Worthy as the guy stretching the field, you have to respect him on defense. And you could go back and watch these plays. The Raiders are scared of Xavier Worthy, right? Who they beat the week? The Lions are playing Worthy. The Ravens, right? Like, I think he's in the Ravens game. But you have to respect him. He's that fast. And when that happens, right, when you have to pay more attention on the back end, that opens up the middle of the field a little bit more. And when you have Travis Kelce and Rashee Rice, who are 2 of the best guys in the middle of the field in football, you're gonna allow a lot of points, and the Chiefs are gonna be really successful and hard to stop. And you saw that, and that's what happened against the Raiders here. Any team that loses their top 2 weapons, think about your team. What's it gonna look like? CD was out for the Cowboys, but Pickens was still there. Imagine you take Pickens out too. Well, we've seen that before when CD was hurt in the years prior. Doesn't look good. Looks a lot different. And the Chiefs now with their guys back, it's on. Like it's on in Kansas City. Another loser is Washington, who we said this coming into the year. They had 12 wins last year, and I think they won 7 in a row to end the year. Maybe that's including the playoffs. But they played a lot more like a 10-7 team that just got hot at the right time. And even entering this year, with all the momentum, all the hype around Jayden Daniels, would he take another jump in year 2 and really cement himself as that 5th best or top 5 quarterback in the league alongside the 4 in the AFC? That was the big question. And we came out and said it's probably more likely that this team misses the playoffs than has another 12-5 year. And that's sort of what you're seeing. Now, we can go back to Debo and McLaurin's out. You miss your 2 big weapons. That hurts. And this game was 27-15 in the early third quarter when Jayden got hurt, fumbled the football, didn't return in the game with the right hamstring injury. That's not supposed to be that bad. But it's just that, Washington's here now at 3-4. They have coming up, they're at Kansas City. Then they host Seattle, host Detroit. They have a lot of home games in a row here. Host the Dolphins, host the Broncos. I mean, the next 3 games are really tough. And I'd be really surprised if they don't lose all of them, actually. And that would put them at 3-7. And it's good night at that point. So Washington, to me, needed to win this weekend. Your quarterback gets hurt, and you have the daunting schedule ahead. I think it's over. I do think it's over in Washington this season. Jayden's still awesome, but he's just been banged up this year, and there's too many other injuries for this team. I think they're a huge Week 7 loser. The Dolphins have been a loser every week, but this was just the one where it's 31-6 against the Browns. Like, the cannot happen. Mike McDaniel, I am shocked that he... let me look. I almost need to Google and make sure that he hasn't been canned here. Yeah. Dolphins not expected to fire McDaniel. I don't know. You lose by 30 to Cleveland. Something needs to happen, you think. All right. I will mention Dallas is playing. Dak has just been unbelievable. Like I said off the top there with the Rams stuff that Dak and Stafford have to be towards the top of the MVP conversation. Dak has just been, and Pickens, like the resurgence of George Pickens, the return of Dak, I guess return of Javonte Williams, or the emergence of Javonte Williams. This Cowboy offense, Jake Ferguson had a great game. CD came back, huge impact. Like, Dallas is, they're in this thing. Like, I'm not talking about top tier Super Bowl team or anything like that, but like, Dallas is a team that you go play them, they're tough to stop, and you just got to be able to outgun them. And luckily for other teams, their defense sucks, but this week they did enough against Washington to win that game, especially after Jaden went out. But Dak has just been so good. And George Pickens looks like one of the trades of the offseason. We've kind of known on this show how good he was for a while, because Jack is a Steeler fan. We saw it a little bit more, but he's just been sensational. All right, we'll wrap it up there. I know I didn't hit too much Lions, but we did a full reaction to their game last night. So if you want to check that out, you can see it. Appreciate everyone for tuning in here. I'm going to record with Andy Herman later today. That episode will be out tomorrow morning. So let me know what you think about the solo shows, if we should do more of these. Again, like, comment, subscribe, help us get to 25,000 subs, and see you soon.